Right then guys, installation of the radio tray. We've pre-assembled the throttle servo into the tray and also pre-fitted the tank on a 2-bolt fixing. All supplied, lines up, ready to go. So
and the fuel tank is rubber mounted for vibration to stop.
Yes.
The bubbling and the engine and the fuel moving around too much. Because can you just explain how the actual process of the fuel? Because it is kind of similar to a car in one sense, but in another way, it's relying very much on the actual engine providing pressure, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So very, very crucial that the exhaust system is fully sealed so that we do get the correct fuel pressure, because the engine will not pull the fuel in.
And the pressure comes from the exhaust system, doesn't it? So the back pressure of the exhaust system from the silencer actually generates the pressure into the fuel tank.
Yes, via this nipple here on the top of the exhaust.
Okay. So you have to make sure the fuel pipe is always in good condition, and also to make sure that pressure that the whole system is connected correctly, and the process is complete while the engine's in operation.
9 times out of 10, if the engine won't start, it's fuel related.
It's fuel related, so either it's not getting the fuel through, or it's got air in the system, so it's not getting the right mixture.
9 times out of 10, there's a very, very small pinhole crack in the fuel line. Normally, when it goes onto the nipples.
Okay, so when they're fitted, because they are threaded into the exhaust chamber, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's a simple replacement because you've got it's threaded, and is it brass?
Well, the actual standard fixing from the factory is aluminium.
Aluminium. Okay, so again, you have to be careful to make sure when it's fitted. And they are factory fitted, but you always need to check them anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the next part is
fitting of the steering servo.
Right then. Okay, so fuel tank's now assembled into the radio tray and secured. We've already applied. Here's one we did earlier, and that is the throttle servo. So now you're going to show us how to install a servo, and it happens to be the steering servo.
That's
okay,
right.
Carry on.
Right. Right, so the first fixings, including the spacer, just to lift up the servo from the radio tray, just so that there's clearance between the bottom of the servos and the actual base of the car. And also lifting up the servos just to give you some clearance, just in case it rains.
Right, okay, so whilst we're on this subject at the moment, these are standard size servos that will fit the majority of RC cars, but we have gone for a more performance specification of these servos. So the throttle servo, the lighter blue of the two, it's a waterproof Savox servo, and it's kind of standard performance in the sense of its speed and its torque, because it carries very little load. It operates the throttle. However, the steering servo that has a higher specification.
I believe we're 15 kilo pull on the throttle on the steering servo.
And because this is the amount of pressure applied onto the steering through the wheels and tyres, the forces. So if you were driving on the road today, most cars have power assisted steering, so that makes the steering lighter for the driver to operate the car.
That's correct, yeah.
So with this, we have obtained a higher specification of steering servo to cope with these forces that go through the steering system, because we've got very, very little suspension with this, haven't we?
Yes, that's right, and with the car weighing 4 kilos, there's a horrendous amount of force going through the steering servo and the associated ball joints as well.
Okay, so the whole package, with the performance, with the forces, it complements the vehicle during its use, basically.
Yes.
If you can just show the viewers now, I've assembled
one side of the steering servo, complete with height adjustment as well.
So I can just zoom into that to have a look. So we've spaced the servo up, and this is to make sure that the servo is not sitting on the chassis.
Yes.
Underneath, and it's also spaced to the correct height to which it's going to be connected to.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. And this is a process, although you may see it many times in any model car manual. They show you how to fit and apply all of these things. Again, it's a bit of TLC, isn't it? It's taking your time, making sure everything fits.
Yes.
Because again, what we've been saying about throughout the whole process of this isn't just any ordinary radio control model car. This is, all intents and purposes, is scratch built.
Yeah.
Although you can obtain one, you can buy one, but also you can build one yourself. So it's a labour of love, and sometimes what you put into assembling a vehicle, it does have personality and character, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right. Everyone likes to put their own little twist on things.
So just how they want things.
Yeah.
So not just, I mean, there's many products out there, quality products out there, and various different prices to suit various different budgets. So preference of what they want to do, how they fit things in, what they use is still individual.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is very much so. You don't have to use the best servos in the world, but they need, especially the steering servo, you need at least double figure kilos.
Okay, and obviously the specifications you can get on the websites, you can get on the internet.
Yeah.
You can look at tech sheets of what the top drivers are using.
Yeah.
There's plenty of literature and information out there to look at what either is kind of the norm, what is traditional, what is in trend of what products are out there at the moment. That's as well, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. But everybody now is going to the waterproof Savox servos.
Okay, and I mean, there's many brands out there. There's KO Propo. There's Futaba as well.
Yeah.
You've got very many range of specification of servos now, haven't you? You've got obviously digital, waterproof, metal gear, plastic gear. So it's the correct application, and kind of doing your research, or just simply asking what's proven for your class of racing, not just with a stock car, but for circuit racing. You may not use such a high torque servo for steering, because the forces aren't so high. But also we do have to remind ourselves, or remind the viewers, that this is going to be a contact vehicle. So it's going to take a lot of punishment down on the track, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you want that reliability as well.
Definitely need the reliability.
Okay.
Definitely.
So then,
right. Yeah.
What's next?
Next is side rails, and in fact we'll actually fit the radio tray.
Excellent. So now we're going to actually start fitting into the chassis.
Yeah.
Super. And then we can move on to the side rails, and then hopefully the engine.
Oh yes.
Right then. Okay.
Right. So, radio tray. Let's just keep the wires round the back at the minute into our pre-drilled holes. Lovely.
So from episode 1, my chassis, I am getting really excited about this. I really am looking forward to this. We're now fitting the radio tray that's obviously got some of the electrics installed, and the viewers may see, well, there's a few more extra components that are fitted, which we'll come on to very, very shortly. So from literally the raw materials in our first episode, you can really start to see it sort of come to life now. It's really coming together.
Yeah.
We're not that far away, are we?
No.
We're really not that far away.
We're not
so
far away at all.
although we're into the start of February, and obviously there's ice and snow about, or we're due snow at the moment, just to give you some sort of time scale of when we're making this video. So, but it's not going to be long before we're going to fire this up and we're going to have some fun with it. Okay. So we're fitting the radio tray.
Yeah. Right. Radio tray installation. Bolts all lined up. Countersink holes drilled. And now we can make the first electrical installation. With the torque wrench.
This torque wrench is going to be legendary, because people are going to be searching on the internet looking for these settings.
Brilliant. Right, so there's the radio tray installed on the 4 fixings. Next we have the side rails.
And what's the purpose for the actual side rails? What do they actually do?
Protection.
Protection. So basically from contact during racing, they are protecting the chassis of the car.
Yes.
To deflect.
Yeah, and allowing you to actually hit the fence and not damage your tyres.
Okay, excellent. Right, let's see how they're fitted.
Right. So, first side rail, the inside side rail, lines up lovely with the corner of the battery box and the first fixing on the side here. So we hold that there, take the drill, ever so simple fixing, 3mm bolt, screwed through the plastic and onto the car. And then bolted from the underneath ever so easily. 3mm nut and bolt. And we just knit that up. Again, not too tight. And there's the back fixing in for the first bit of the side rail. So now we just have the front fixing to do. A repeat of the rear, really. Just make sure that's nice and lined up. And again, nice simple drilling. Take your 3mm bolt again, don't forget the wash up. Very, very simple. So yeah, the last fixing in the front. Very gently. No need to swing on them. They only need to be just above finger tight, really.
Yeah, just enough to hold it, just to hold it in place, make it secure.
Yeah, and there we go. There's the first inside side rail fitted over the battery box.
It's all starting to come together very nicely.
Oh yes. and basically it's a mirror image of the inside one. Line them all up, the corner of this with the fixing, so it's nice and smooth. Take your drill again, ever so easy. Little 3mm hole again, 3mm bowl. There we go. Let's place that in there. Same again, nut underneath. Keep all the sharp bits out of the way.
So not to say that you haven't done this a few times. We were speaking last time, and obviously when Rob was here, there's a lot of history and conversations and banter gone on in this workshop, and I believe I asked the questions, but there's been a fair bit of success, hasn't there, in this workshop over the years?
Yes.
So how many world titles have been won that's come out of this workshop?
I believe there's 4 or 5 world titles from this.
And this is also in 1/8 stock cars, but also in F1 1/12 scale,
yes.
which is indoors on carpet,
Yeah.
which obviously Rob mentioned earlier and gave great credit for the Rugby Model Car Club, that obviously he supports.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis.
That's right.
Which will be coming out shortly, relevant to the video. I visited for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and it was great fun, great banter. There was a great atmosphere, and it seems to go for, regardless of the discipline or the size of the car, the atmosphere and the engagement and the support, and there's all ages, and it's like we keep saying this, but it is so true. It's a big family, and it spills over into full-size racing and vice versa and stuff.
Yeah.
So how many cars have you actually constructed that people have had a lot of reward, success, fun, time with? How many cars can you name? How many cars you've built now?
I believe there's must be 50 cars that we've done.
50 cars have come from this workshop and are out there.
Yeah.
And waiting for the better weather, waiting for the 2019 season.
Yeah.
And you've got new people that have ordered a car basically to take part this year.
Yeah.
So we're going to see more new faces as well.
Yeah, we've got people coming out the woodwork. It's brilliant. Really is. But we need more.
You can never have enough people racing, can you? You want to be able to have that reserve list and say, I'm really sorry, you need to book in early.
Yeah.
And from all over. I mean, I've done quite a bit of the F2s and some F1 racing indoors, 1/12 scale, and it's great fun. And people are like, they have a look and they go. And I've been asked, even with my limited experience with this class, that they so what's it like then? What's 8 scale like? And I say it's just great. It's just real good fun. All your skills from the smaller class of racing, and usually the smaller car is more difficult. Any model that is small is always harder to control and operate till you get used to it.
Yeah,
and then you go to a bigger car, a larger scale, and it's just as intense, it's just as rewarding, it's just as much fun, but everything's a little bit slower, and that's not being disrespectful that they're slower and boring, because they're not. I've raced 5th scale bikes, cars. I've refereed European championships in large scale off-road, and I mean, none of these vehicles hang up. You know, they all go some. They don't hang about.
Yeah.
It just depends what discipline and what suits you. And I know in my sort of maybe in motorsport terms, in my more mature years, and I know you're smiling, that you can move around to still be competitive.
Yeah.
And yet. With oval racing, I'm seeing all ages, all competing, all at the same level.
Yeah.
Whether it's 12th, whether it's 8th, whether it's bangers, hot rods, stock cars, F1s, F2s. It really doesn't matter, does it?
No.
No, everybody. Once you've got the basics, and once you learn the craft of oval racing, and like we said before, it's like snooker on wheels. Once you learn the art of, it's not just about crashing into people. You're actually trying to maneuver or avoid and look out, and your peripheral vision, it's a long word for me this time of night because it is quite late. You can't quite see how dark it is, but it's quite late at night. We're doing this because we're all volunteers. We're all doing this in our spare time. There's so much reward regardless of when you start this sport, and obviously with the car being born, you can see it's coming together. With some experience and practice, anybody could learn to build this car. And I dare say we've had new people, haven't we, that have never done it before. They may have bought a second-hand car and they've come to you and go, I want a car, and they probably do want it in kit form. They want to finish that journey of getting the car on the track.
That's right.
So I think it's a credit to the people that race. It's a credit to the clubs and the people that give it the time to make this sport happen. So it's really, really rewarding, I think.
Right. Next is installation of the back axle. Swing arms are already attached, both sides.
And these are plastic mouldings, and these represent pretty much the bearing of the rear axle, like we've been talking about earlier. On the rear of the vehicle, and this is also the suspension unit as well.
Suspension unit and control arm all in one. All in one.
Excellent. And these you have these. These are like universal. Everybody that races whatever stock car of this class uses the same.
Part of the construction rules.
Okay, so literally one type and style and design of suspension throughout the class of racing in 1/8 stock cars.
That's it. Right then, guys, let's fit the back axle. So we have, very similar to the front, we have the rear wheel bearing to take away the heat and friction again. So that goes onto there first, up to the drive dog, then ready for fitment in the car.
And this is a solid axle, so there's absolutely no differential on this vehicle. It is rear wheel drive and both wheels driving, and a lot of people may or may not, because most of vehicles today are front wheel drive, where back in, well, say what, the late 80s backwards, a lot of cars were rear wheel driven, so the diff was at the rear, but this has no differential.
No differential at all.
So the steering of the vehicle automatically changes because there's no differential, so it's actually, how can I say this, I'm not going to say prehistoric, but it is basic, and yet it does have an advantage by not having a differential.
Yeah, that's right. So you're creating the car to turn by using different size tyres.
Which is obviously the stagger of the inside and the outside, which we said we will discuss once we see the car in action.
Yeah. So the axle through the outside rear swinging arm on here. So our axle goes through the rear drive sprocket.
Okay, and again that is a machined gear, and you've got option in sizes.
Yes.
So you can change gearing to suit performance or preference, or from track to track.
But I don't. We have that much power, we do not need to change the gearing, whether it is a short track like we have in England or a large track that we have in Holland. We don't change the gear.
Right, okay.
Because we have that much variant in the revs And the power, we don't often change the gearing.
Okay, excellent.
Even in the wet.
Even in the wet?
Yeah, we just keep with the same gearing. Yeah. Which is a 33, which pretty much everybody runs.
So it's 33 tooth rear drive
rear pulley, yeah.
Drive pulley.
Yeah. And then the power's delivered from the engine through to the back wheels onto the pulley via the drive belt.
And again, you only really use one size because of the gearing you don't change.
Well, no, there is a couple of sizes of these, depending on where you want the engine to sit.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, so you can manoeuvre the engine. You've got 2 or 3 mil difference where the engine sits in the size of the belt.
And would this lean towards the performance where your weight distribution within the chassis, whether you want the engine forward or back, because weight transfer again plays a key part in the handling of the vehicle?
Yeah. I prefer the shorter belt, the 90 tooth belt, compared to the 92, just because it seems to put more weight on the back of the car.
To give you more drive out the corner.
Traction.
Does that make the car more stable, or does it make the front end of the vehicle lighter on steering?
It does make it lighter, yeah.
So it kind of takes the aggression out of the steering slightly. But again, that'll depend on driver preference and obviously maybe on the day due to track conditions.
Temperature. And track, yeah, definitely. So yeah, right, that's the drive belt over the back axle. We push that right the way through into the far swing arm to be connected up to the inside drive dog. Now with this, it doesn't go all the way on. We have a gap between the back
Right, okay, so we can see the rear axle has now been installed. We've also got the pulley that is yet to be inlined, but this what you're doing now is you're fitting the hub.
Yes.
And then you're leaving that gap that we can see.
We're leaving
just there.
Yeah.
And we call this what?
End float.
This is end float, and this is when the axle is allowed to move from side to side during the motion of the car while it's in use. And why would we need that in place?
Because the suspension is independent on both sides. Both sides can go up and down at any time. So the overall length is changing.
Right. So it's about angles then.
Yes.
And also keeping the axle free at all times while it's in drive, because obviously, like we say, it's a direct drive, and we know it's got a centrifugal clutch because we discussed that earlier. However, when you're applying the power, then the transmission is engaged, and you don't want to be having anything catching or slowing or restricting in any way.
No, because the arms are made of plastic, and if there's any resistance there at all, it will just burn them. It will physically melt them. So
not only is it about reliability, but it's also about the freer all of the transmission during a corner, down the straight. It's a performance requirement, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If that gap's too small, then you cannot set the car up properly. The car just becomes very unstable and it will jump around on the track.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it'll make it nervous, which will also make then the driver nervous because the car's not behaving accurately.
You lose the stability and the predictability.
And the predictability, and that's with many areas with vehicles in general, or with anything. If it's not doing what you're expecting it to do, it's off-putting for yourself.
Yeah.
Whether whatever sport that you're doing, the equipment, if it's not right in. Confidence is a big thing, isn't it? In
right.
nearly anything that we do, and you could be working with machinery. You could be if you're not comfortable with what's working, then your performance is never at its best, and never more so than this right now.
That's right.
Half of the success of the performance of this car, regardless of my ability, is down to what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
So what have we got left to do?
Engine and wheels.
Engine and wheels. This is getting exciting. Excellent.
Right. Now it's time to fit the wheels. Very easy job, funnily enough.
But there can be a right way and a wrong way, can't there?
Oh, there is definitely. Yeah. There is.
So we have got some contact foam tyres, because that's what we use in this sport. It's a foam class.
Yeah.
And there's different compounds of foam, from hard to soft to medium, and then the range is throughout. So we're just starting on a pretty safe setting.
Yeah.
We've got E30s on the back, and we've got 40s on the front. So that's just giving us a benchmark to start with.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens when we get trackside, or depending on what we opt for at the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, exciting bit. Let's put some wheels on.
I have to say, we're doing things like this, and the enthusiasm over the years. It's not the first time I have built a vehicle. It's late at night, and I have gone outside under the street lights and give it a quick whiz round, because you can't help it. In some way, I'm not suggesting that's what we should do with this vehicle at all, because obviously it's nitro, it's late at night and noise and everything, but you can get carried away with this, can't you? You really can. It's the fun element. And
it is. It's the fun side of it.
Fun side of it all.
It's good. It is really good.
I'm just going to zoom in. If you could just give me a side view.
Yeah. There we go, 2 outside tyres fitted. And it's starting to look like a race car now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And maybe if we did a video at the end of the 2019 season, and I'd like to think it would look like it looks now, but I also, because I've done some of the racing with everybody now, and I mean, my car last year, a credit to everybody that helped me and supported. I had great fun, and it's still ready to go for hopefully many more seasons, but it takes a few little bruises and battle. But that's a credit to obviously the engineering and the time and effort that's gone into designing and making one of these, and you can get a lot of mileage out of one of these cars, can't you?
Oh,
I mean, that car, as we said, is like over 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's had some TLC,
Yeah.
but it's still got a lot of life in it.
Oh yeah.
So,
no end of life. Now, when we're racing, every corner can get bent in, but you can cut the bumpers off and put new straight ones back on.
So, like you'd witness full-size racing, you'd get a welder out, you'd piece that.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody will have or may have welding skills or have the room, the equipment all the time. But people will help you, and they will. Like, people will repair your chassis and give your car back to you, and you're ready to go again.
Yes.
And as we've assembled this car, the process through practice, once you get to know your car, you'll take parts off and put them back on, and you'll be doing this sort of thing in minutes, won't you?
Literally minutes
to do. So I've seen it, I've witnessed it actually trackside even. So, and what I really like about what I witnessed with some of the race meetings, it doesn't take long before you get a group of people around you trying to get that car back on the track for you, because they want you to be out there. And I've witnessed that in a lot of model car racing over the years. But because of the nature that the track is a stadium setting with the pitting and all the rest of it, it's so close, and it's so sort of hands-on and engaging, and you can borrow somebody else's tools and equipment. And it's like, come on, I've had like 3 or 4 people around my car where I can't get to my car because they're all helping me, and I so appreciate it, because it just made it all. It wasn't just about racing a model car, it was everything that around it.
It goes back to that family.
It does so much, and it's like, Stadium racing builds that atmosphere so much because you're kind of enclosed in a way, and you're very kind of contained. And I'm not going to say that it's cramped, I don't mean it that way, but the atmosphere and how you engage with everybody, it's you know, there's a vibe, and as people are turning up, and
you felt that vibe at the World Final.
Oh, it was just mind blowing. It's just absolutely. I've never.
You felt that vibe.
I don't think I've experienced something quite like that. I've had many experiences and great memories and everything. All the racing I've done, largely down to the people. Of the sport and the hobby over the years and stuff. But there was just something, that element, and again it comes back to maybe that stadium feeling. Just kind of was like, wow, I'm really. And of course, obviously, I'm a newbie, so it did have that extra for me, and to be everything about that, and maybe not to. I got as far as the quarterfinals. I was quite content with that, and then it gave me time to go and meet and greet and talk and chat and do some filming, and then me and you and everything. And it just made a real amazing. And a lot of people came to watch. A lot of people just came down to watch. You know, past champions and people that were taking a year out, or people they've got a young family, and they still came along to embrace what that weekend meant to the members and the racers. So it's good. So we've got wheels. We've got wheels. We're only waiting for one more thing. We're only waiting for one more thing now.
Let's put that one more thing
Let's put that one more thing. Let's have that Pico in there.
Let's have it engine time.
So the manifold, going on to the actual the silencer, it is it's a silicon tube that acts as an exhaust joint, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's the link between the two.
So now the fiberglass plate that you mounted on earlier, this is the bracket that holds it in place.
Yeah.
So
take that out so we can see.
So it's steel bolts going through the bottom of the engine mount that is part of the chassis. Okay. And this allows the engine to slide on this plate, so you can alter the drive belt tension.
Yes. Yeah. You can alter it as it wears. So, there's the two 6mm fixings underneath. And there's the engine bolted in as quickly as that.
And also, should you wish, should you need to, for maintenance and checking, you can take it out just as quickly as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you need to change anything, it's 2 bolts and it's out.
But of course, you never have to.
Oh well, yeah. In an ideal world, yes, but unfortunately, still have to.
What sort of, while we're installing the engine, what sort of life do you get out of one of these engines? Because it's a 2-stroke engine.
Yeah.
It runs on nitro fuel.
25% nitro.
25%, and that's one of the rules, isn't it? That you
not anymore, no.
Oh, it's been taken away, has it?
You can run 100% nitro if you.
So the more nitro, it gives you the more power. But obviously, there's always a trade.
Ooh, there's a downside.
There's always a downside. So
heat.
Okay, and heat. the more heat that's generated, technically, an engine can become more efficient. But there's an optimum. There's always an optimum. There's always a compromise.
Yeah.
There's a balance. Would you change fuels according to the day with humidity and temperature, or you just go, that's the engine, that's the fuel it likes, that's the fuel it's been running in on from the very first tank of fuel, and again, it's what you like, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's and what you can get as well.
And what you can get as well.
Yeah, where there's no dedicated fuel for these. There's 5 or 6 different manufacturers of fuel.
Yes.
And everyone is using different fuels.
Wow, so
there's not one dedicated.
And yet there's no secrecy.
No.
No secrecy. No. They quite happily put the container. There's the can. That's what it is. That's what I'm using.
Yeah.
However, there is a bit of a recipe to looking after these engines, isn't there? As I've found when I've done this style of racing before, and also maybe with radio control model flying, once you've run an engine from the beginning on a fuel, they don't tend to like fuel being changed.
Yes, yeah. I'd like to stick with one fuel, and that's
throughout its engine's life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, engine in place, bolted in.
Yeah, engine's now in. Drive belts attached. Belt tension set.
So you would line this rear pulley up, so therefore now it is in line with the clutch bell housing, which will then make sure that the transmission is running in line, again being efficient. And the belt tension, I learnt, is you check it every run because it is a wearing part.
Yes.
It is a consumable.
It's a rubber belt.
It's a rubber belt, and
it's going to stretch.
All rubber is a living thing, and it can perish, it can wear, so therefore it's a constant check after every run, because when that breaks, your race is run, your race is over. Okay.
With this much power as well, you need the drivetrain needs to be.
You keep telling me about this much power, and I'm slightly getting a bit concerned because I know my other car sat there, I know what it's capable of, so how much more power am I actually going to have?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
So I'm going to need to be respectful of this power.
Yes. Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you're in for a step up.
Am I in Ben Harding country?
Yes.
So hopefully I might be in Ben Harding company. Yeah. If my knees don't give way first. Okay.
No doubt.
So we're looking at fitting the
exhaust
silencer. Excellent. And again, this is another product that is made and being developed by Contact through Piro and through
Schumacher.
Through Schumacher. So a development to support, because this engine compared to my previous engine, the exhaust port is different, isn't it? The configuration of how the engine breathes is more up to date, modern.
These are a rear exhaust motor.
Okay.
Producing 3.5 horsepower from a 0.21cc cubic capacity, which is
going some.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. Revving to 37,000 if you require.
And yet noise limits, because obviously the circuits that we operate on, people do have a concern with noise pollution. They're no louder.
No.
They're no louder. So literally the development of the engine complementing with the exhaust system and then the whole design, and yet you're saying we've got more performance, and yet we're quieter. We're still quieter.
Okay.
Right then.
Let's fit the exhaust.
Let's have it in there.
Right. There we go. Let's set this up for drilling.
So this is where you're going to mount it, clamp it, and then mark it for drilling so
Yeah.
it fits exactly where you want it to be.
Just exactly where we want it to be. Just in the right spot. But again, a very simple fixing. 2 bolts.
2 bolts.
And the exhaust is in. Literally, it's so easy.
And yet that particular part doesn't actually need to be rubber mounted because you've got the rubber joint or the silicon joint between the two.
Correct, yes. And also if the exhaust is mounted too hard, if the exhaust is flexing in the back of the car with the vibration coming through the car, the fuel pipe splits because of the vibration.
Because of the vibration.
Yeah, yeah.
And I take it a lot of this is learnt like in many different things. You can learn the hard way, can't you?
I have. I have. It has taken a little bit of time to get right, but now it is right. Everything seems to just fall into place. With the exhaust system is right. It doesn't break. It's easily fixed. It's mounted. Like I say, on the 2-bolt system, which makes it very easy. It's quite simple engineering.
And obviously you can buy the components separately as well, so the great thing about this, should you break, damage, twist or bend something, you haven't got to go and buy a whole packet or a whole box of components. You can just buy what you need to replace what needs replacing.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right. You haven't got to buy a whole car just for one part,
or even a bundle, if you like, or a set of parts where then you end up with a whole bag of parts that you don't actually need.
No.
Which we've all been there with in the past, where you end up with, well, I've got 5 of those bits because I had to buy that one part that came in a packet.
That's right. Right, so the last fixing in the side. And that's the exhaust in and ready to race.
An excellent job. I have to say that even looks fast just there right now. And obviously my race colours, even though the colours that I had on the previous car, two of my race colours are pink and purple, and so I've got a hint of that already on the car.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to zoom in so we can just have a nice look at the car. And obviously we've still got a few more bits to do. We have the bodywork, which we're going to look at shortly. We've got the body mounting points to fit on there, but basically, you know, with a couple of linkages to the throttle and an air filter and some fuel and It's not too late at night. I'm kidding. And obviously we need to install the receiver and calibrate the radio, the transmitter to the receiver to the radio, to what we call trimming the servos,
Yep.
so everything operates equally and everything's central, which we'll do shortly. I'm getting really excited now. That's my car, isn't it? That's my car. So we shall come back shortly, and we shall continue with finally getting it ready for the track.
Yeah, brilliant. See you guys.